Hey, we're back with some more armor analysis. We've got some screenshots here that are 4K. I regret that my armor variation video that I did was not 4K. It was supposed to be, so I was planning on doing an ultimate compilation of everything in the unmoored world anyway, but the majority of the videos that I put out from now on should be around, 4K, so let's get started on the first image here. This is probably my favorite of the bunch so far. I know I joked about the female armor, but what is it? Not the lingerie, but the corset. I really dug the corset, especially with like the single metal breastplate, with the leather strap, and then like in some cases it's got the iron. I'll post a picture of what I'm talking about. I need to stop, reading an audiobook to you guys, but this just looks really like the bandits that we run into, the 2.0 version, I guess, if you want to call it that. But this time they've got wolves working with them, so this has, the potential. It feels like what they're doing with the enemies is there's more of a reason to have a party, right? There's more going on. There's more to account for. You need to have more than, just you and your pawn. They're giving you, reasons to go out there and rent, and try out different pawn combinations and stuff like that, which I think that's a great idea. One of the things that I liked about the original Dark Arisen so much was that when you get down into the thick of it, they're just throwing all kinds of stuff at you, and you're just like, holy crap, if you don't want to just do blast arrows and throw bombs, right, and make it, cheese your way through it, it actually can be, difficult, even if you are like, level 90, 100, whatever. So I'm really glad that they're doing that. Now, speaking of the fashion here, let's start over on the left. We've got this wizard. Looks like these looks all are very similar to how the layered armor works. If you haven't watched that video, I would give that a quick watch if you're curious, because the enemies in Dragon's Dogma 2 actually have more layered armor combinations, technically speaking, than the player does. So what I'm working on is like a bigger video that's like an open letter to Capcom that says, hey, the game can already do this. Can you please, we would love it if you would give us the ability to decide, whether we want a shoulder piece or a chest piece, you know what I mean? Like, pick and choose what pieces from each armor that we want. It's not going to be the same as Dragon's Dogma 1, although some people in the comments have said that modders have found out that there is the same or similar system to the layered armor that's in Dragon's Dogma 2. We just don't have access to it. So I'm not 100% sure on everything. I'm a little gullible. I'll tend to believe, something if it if it's what I'm interested in, so. But I do want to do the research, and I want to do right by you guys. Anyway, the helmets on the warriors and the the fighter, those are all looking really cool. I want to say that, the first Dragon's Dogma got overshadowed by Skyrim because that was 2011. And then I believe Dark Souls came out, not too long after that. And then Dragon's Dogma came out, I think it was a year after Dark Souls. So all of these games are their own entity, right? I don't think any of them really had any influence on each other, other than Dark Arisen, possibly pulling, some inspiration from Dark Souls. I could totally see that. But I feel like what they're doing here is like, this is the revenge of Dragon's Dogma, right? They're taking that inspiration from Skyrim, and I'm not saying Dogma is a Souls-like. I would never say that, but it's almost like their revenge on those two games. It's like, yeah, we could do this better than you guys could do it, or just have more fun with it. So I'm really excited about this. In particular, I hope we get access to more layered combinations, so we can kind of we can go fashion forward. So I'm really excited about this. Also, real quick, is that the head of Daemon, or what's going to be the new Daemon? Because most of these guys have that as their belt buckle. So real quick, theory crafting. I've been looking at this image for a little bit, and I think it's really cool that they can rip the trees out. I can't remember if they can do that now or not. But this Yeti look for the Cyclops, because I'm pretty sure this is just the Cyclops with fur. I'm assuming they're pulling from the myth that whenever they found the elephant skull, right, they thought it was a Cyclops monster or whatever. So they're kind of jumping back toward that, only on the woolly side, which I think is pretty cute. So I'm looking forward to that. But I keep looking at images of these guys to see if I can see the eyeball, and I can't see it. So I thought it would be neat if they were blind, right? And so they're just operating on sound and like trying to find you that way. I think that could be really cool if they did something like that. But otherwise, you know, I'm not mad at them for doing this. I think that it's interesting what they're doing. Okay, so I went back and forth on this like a couple of times. I really didn't blow up the picture and look at it, but what I was trying to say is that I think that the guy with the bow and arrow has the same or similar armor that the guy in the anniversary artwork has. Originally, what I thought was the guy that was in the anniversary artwork, having seen this picture and some other pictures, one of these guys might be Rothace's long lost pawn or whatever. I don't know, it's just a theory. But I was thinking that the guy in the anniversary artwork that looks like the bow and arrow guy is the person like Ulra that would take us to the new land. That's all I was really trying to say. There's a couple of things that stand out to me whenever I look at this picture. I really enjoy the aesthetic of the armor. I think it looks really cool. There are some similarities between some of these, but I do appreciate that they're, you know, they kind of have their own look and stuff like that. I really like the headband with the ring and then the feathers hanging down. I think that looks really cool. I didn't notice this at first, but his belt has some, it looks like it has some runes or some letters on it. I don't know how to translate that, so maybe I'll look into that later. So this set in particular is why I wanted to make this video in the first place. As soon as I saw this, I got really excited. I really dig the breastplate, the bracers, the thorn crown, everything, you know, with the leather pants and the stitching and the flowing robes. I think it's just really cool. I do hope that, you know, there's more variety like this in the DLC, and I fully suspect that there will be. But this in particular, you know, shows me that, you know, they're really pushing different styles and variety, and I'm very happy about that. I really dig the winter night sets that we're seeing. There's a very interesting pattern on his chest. It looks very earthy, very antler-like or tree-like or leaf-like or something like that. The thing that caught my eye the most was his shield, and I'm going to blow it up here. So I was thinking that this reminded me of the Hydra at first from far away, but then I zoomed in and it looked like a bunch of tentacles. So I was thinking maybe we could get, instead of, you know, I hope we get the Hydra fight back. I really do. But I would also like kind of the inverse of that. So where you have like an octopus or a kraken kind of giant squid monster or something. I think that could be so cool. I really hope that they do something like that. On second thought, it may be just a dragon head, but I'm gonna blow this up as much as I can. It seems like those things, whatever they are, they do look like snake scales or dragon scales, but it looks like they're like ripples around that. So I don't know, it just looks like ripples in water and the tentacles coming out. I'm probably just imagining that, but so here we got our first look at a warrior wearing what looks like a new version of the diadem, which I'll post a picture of that from the first game. I'm definitely starting to pick up this kind of Skyrim type of vibe from the armor. I know, you know, they're both pulling from similar sources in, you know, history and stuff like that, but I really appreciate that they're bringing back armor from, you know, newer versions of armor from the original game. I know in the first game, the horns were a little bit more, you know, uniform, but here they look a little bit more wild and they're like going in different directions. So there's a lot of really cool details like, you know, that and with the armors that it looks like they put a lot of love into it, and I just can't, you know, tell you how much I appreciate what they're doing. I'll be honest, I don't really know much about tricksters. I've tried it a couple of times and I didn't really get it, I guess. I tried to, like, I always try to incorporate more vocations into the warfare just to see, like, you know, what variety is the spice for me. And I'm going to keep trying it. I'm going to keep trying other things, but It's got to flow naturally for me, and right now I feel like it's time to change things up a little bit. So I really appreciate the TLC that they're putting into the fashion, but not only that, but the weapons, especially in the case here, that Trickster, I forget what they're called, their weapons. They're incense burners. This thing looks awesome. There's a lot of detail here. I'm not really getting anything specific from it, but if I had to guess something, there is kind of like an owl-like look to it, but that could be way off base. Again, I don't know much about Tricksters, but I do appreciate that Capcom took the gamble and tried to make a new vocation for us. And I really hope that the Trickster gets some more skills added and more people get to try it out, because it does look like a lot of fun, if you have the right balance and party and stuff like that. All right, this is where things get a little weird. So this guy is giving me bad guy energy for some reason. His staff, I think he's a sorcerer, but his staff looks really cool. It looks awesome. I used to have one of those old necklaces, with like the dragon claws and then the blue crystal ball or whatever in the middle of it. Anyway, his robe looks really interesting because it looks like this guy is a cult leader. That's just my first impression, because he's got a bunch of people that look like their heads have been chopped off and they're replaced with the symbol or the dragon staff top or whatever. And it looks like they're holding their head in their hands. So if anybody's a cult leader, maybe he's a part of the new salvation or damnation or whatever. But I'm getting a lot of inspiration and like theory crafting from this guy. So really cool. Let's keep going on with the magic classes. So it looks like we're getting a shot of a mage here, but to me that looks like a pimp, and I know a pimp when I see a pimp. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a pimp. But in all seriousness, no, I think it looks really good. It's a very interesting look. It's very different, right? It's very unique, and I'm not saying like it's bad or I'm making fun of it. It's just weird and original and a little scary, I think, maybe. I don't know. It's like a kind of like a weird flamboyant assassin, I guess. But I got to give props to them for that, because that's way out there. So a couple things stand out to me with this particular character. The crescent moons look really interesting on her robe. I do like the application of the fur. I think I might be getting a little fur overload from all this fur armor, but one thought that I had was I was looking at her staff, and I remembered, because I'm on like playthrough 6 or whatever right now on Dragon's Dogma 2. I refused to delete that character. What I was thinking is we only get the Sphinx symbol for the Trickster from the Sphinx as a weapon reward, but I thought it would be cool if there was, maybe there was a way that we could get other weapons that were like Sphinx powered weapons for the other vocations as well. I think that could be really cool, because when I look at her staff, the first thing I started to think about was the Sphinx. So not only that, I know this is kind of silly, but her little bag that she has there is really cool. Like, I really like the way they put that together. So, and then also I really appreciate all these little circlets and headdresses that they're making. I love that kind of a stuff. I'm always rotating fashion. I carry like a mini closet with me when I'm traveling in the world of Dogma 2, because I constantly want to change up what I'm wearing as a warfare. So looks like we've only got a couple more to go, but we got the warfare here, which is my favorite vocation. I was trying to figure out, because I didn't really look at this photo until now. I just glanced at it before, but the warfare looks crazy. It looks like it's just a mishmash of a bunch of different shit, and I kind of like that. It looks really, I don't know, it reminds me of like Dom Hall of Xena, or I can't remember if that's his name, the guy from Dark Souls 1, the gold armor guy. But he's got the, this guy's got the daemon symbol thing that I was talking about earlier on his belt, which is weird. I like the idea of there being, I don't know, I'm assuming this is warrior armor for like his chest piece. That makes sense. And then we've got that thorned crown again. I mean, they're really leaning into this Arisen, this quote unquote Arisen thing. And then maybe some like thief pants or something like that. I don't know. But he's got a great sword on his back that's freaking huge. The thing above the handle, I forget what it's called. And he's got these really awesome daggers. They do kind of look like Sphinx daggers now that I look at it. They got that kind of similar look that the mage staff had earlier. And then you've got your what looks like Damascus almost. What do you call it? Mystic Spearhand deal weapon thing. But the thing that stands out to me the most is, well, I really like the feathered dragon scale, armor look that a lot of this stuff has. I probably prefer that over the, the excess of fur, but I get it. We're in a cold environment. But I like these horns on his shoulder here. I don't know. I'm assuming that's a part of like his cloak, because this looks like one of those, half cloaks or whatever that had the feathers in the original Dragon's Dogma 2. I can't believe I get to say the original Dragon's Dogma 2. Like, that feels really good to say. So, yeah, that's really interesting. I hope that we get the layered armor, some sort of more complex layered customization, to our armor, because the warfare especially could really, do a lot with that. I feel like I don't want to relegate it to one vocation. I want everybody to be able to mix and match and do, I feel like mages and sorcerers, why not just let them wear the same stuff, but whatever. I don't know. I'm sure they'll figure it out and they'll fix it. So I can't wait to see what they have in store for us, to be honest. I'm really excited for the Thief to get some new fashion. I think this does a lot for the game to have fashion in this particular regard, because it's not, it's not shy, right? It's very exposed, it's very vulnerable, but it's also very fast and deadly, and that's just kind of one of the things I love about the Thief class so much, and why I incorporate it into the Warfare, because I get to wear whatever I want, but having a lot more variety in the armor is always a plus, and I'm glad to see that, they're not just putting huge leather fur coats on everybody, you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to see something that looks light and fast and interesting. I would like to see more of this particular set, because the chest area is covered up. Not that I want to look at the chest area, but you know what I mean? I just want to see what the whole set looks like. But yeah, no, I really like what they're doing with these. It's nice to see some inspiration. It seems like there's a lot of inspiration coming from the first Dark Arisen and the first Dragon's Dogma in terms of like variety of fashion. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that people had, including myself. So it's nice to see that we're on the mend. I think that the standout here is definitely the sword. The design is just on another level. It's awesome. I love the curved dragons above the handle. I'm not sure what's down there at the bottom of the hilt, but it looks interesting. This is a really big sword, as you guys can tell. It's awesome. This appears to be the last character render that we've got, so from what I could tell, this is just the Sovereign armor from the original Dragon's Dogma 2. Still feels good to say. The only difference maybe that he has a new sword. I know we have that shield already. I can't remember what it's called. I wasn't really a big fan of this. I mean, I know it's like the cover art or whatever, but I mean, it's okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but it's not my fashion. So I hope you guys really enjoyed that video. I'm still having a lot of fun making these. There's more stuff that we can go through, more text information that we can dissect and kind of wrap our heads around what's coming. So I fully suspect, we'll get some more information this summer before Gamescom, and then we'll definitely get something after Gamescom because they're going to have a playable demo there. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm going to get back to work on the monster video, and then I'll finish the ultimate enemy armor variety, compilation with everything I can possibly find in the game. So Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And just take care of yourselves, okay?